there was this story about three left-handers, Saša, Tanja, Silvije, left-handers, and I didn't use hand to draw. I used hard drive to store the data. So
the only one.
Yeah, it was three computers. Left-handers and the hard drive. So this is a funny story from the beginning, but
whatever came.
I had a computer, and this was time when CGI was developing. So I started working a lot in 3D and offering service for 3D
for all our professors.
So I was most wanted
at the time. You were sustaining the crew.
Yeah. But it was really difficult. So it was not. There's a big storm coming from the United States. It's going to hit all the markets. We said,
mid 2000.
It was 2008, and he said, and he said it's going to be very harsh. I said, don't bother.
We survived.
We survived.
Worst in the 90s.
So, and then it really came and hit us hard.
We lower our.
But he, as a manager, he said, guys, you're going to bankrupt the company if you don't stop immediately. So we canceled the office.
In Split, and just
shrink the Zagreb office, and it was the reason why we think we survived 2008. If we were only architects in the office, without manager, we would be down. Again, to say, we never wanted to have 70 people company. Our idea is just to design. There is in Czechoslovakia, I think, 27 centimeters bridge spanning above the highway. Thank you. We cut the line. We cut the line too soon because she didn't tell us that it was spanband. So
spanband is a structure which can be hanging.
Hanging bridge. It was not. Again, you're going to build in a new country, Japan, with no knowledge, very fast pace. So we employed a Japanese architect to come to the office. We had for 1 year architect Yasuo Kitanago working for us. We were invited on a competition in Dubrovnik together with Zaha Hadid, Norman Foster, Legoretta, then Richard Meyer. So you had a really heavyweight architects competing on a very steep site.
We have to present the project. It was not just submitting the projects. I mean, we're also finalists with Foster and Zaha.
We went in a second round, Foster, Zaha and us, and we won in second round.
Welcome to Sfera Global Series. Today, we're sitting down with Marko Dabrović and Saša Begović, the founders and senior partners of 3LHD, one of Croatia's most influential architectural studios. Over the past 3 decades, 3LHD has been practicing architecture in a region where political systems, economic models, and social values have constantly shifted. Today, we are at Urania, their incredible urban office that doubles as a cultural space, to talk about how they navigated these changes, maintained their collective identity, and shaped projects that speak to both society and design. We'll dive deep into 3 decades of practice, from formative years to the ways 3LHD has grown as a collective, navigating large-scale projects across hospitality, residential, corporate, and public spaces. By the end, we hope to understand not just what architecture is today, but where it can go next, and how new generation of architects might carry forward both ideas and responsibility. I'm your host, Miljan Salata. Welcome to Sfera. Saša, Marko, we usually say welcome to the Sphere, but today we are here at your space. So thank you for inviting us. Last year we were supposed to meet here for your birthday, for your anniversary. Unfortunately we couldn't come, but I hope we'll make it up today with this conversation.
And maybe we can start by turning back to those 30 years and the longevity of your office, which is really impressive, I must say, because 3LHD, I'm actually 2 years older than your office, so I'm very, very interested in what is your longevity based on. Is it like making a certain kind of system, continuous growth, or focusing more on adaptation?
All that
yeah, all together.
First of all, thank you for coming here. You missed last year. You missed the big party. That's sad, but yeah. Like you said, actually, we were formed in this transition period of former Yugoslavia, and as you know, also in this complete change of everything, of social, economic, and every other aspect of the society, technical also. For us was important that we were formed in this 94, where the actually changes in the society also was a change in technical, I would say, development, or as people say, this DTP or digital technologies came also. That was our first was strange, but then we said, okay, this is our luck, this is our advantage to do that, because our teachers, our former offices, which were very developed in the offices, meaning state offices or big offices that were ruling our architectural or building community, was actually in decay. So we jumped into it. We were actually formed during our last year of the study on the university, and that was something which actually, though all those contexts and circumstances actually formed our first years. I mean, from the 94 till 2000. Yugoslavia and Croatia also have a really good tradition of public competitions. That's something that also we kind of jump into it. We won some competition. That was our first actually built project. Public built project was a memorial bridge in Rijeka, and that was also one important thing. But also parallel to this development, you know, the situation in the 90s was really bad everywhere else, and everywhere in the former state. And we did a lot of small work, interiors, small houses, parallel to those bigger competitions, domestic and international. And during, I would say, 2000, actually, we were doing like this, small projects and big competitions. And after 2000, a little bit, everything getting better. But also what is important to say, as you mentioned, we tried to make the office. We didn't know that it will last for this long, of course, but we were kind of, we joined together on one competition, which we won in 94. But this was actually also for us opportunity. Okay, let's see what's happening around us, and we formed the office. And what's the office? We didn't know that actually, in a way. And during this period of, let's say, until 2000, we tried to, you know, develop or try to organize the office, and that's something which we would like to say that this is our most long. How do you call it? Lasting project until today, because we are developing all the time. All the time developing, meaning in every aspect, organization, people. That's one thing. And another thing, we just want to finish this. As four of us, on the beginning, we were always team-oriented. And sometimes when you ask some question like that, we always like to say that we have a low ego, which is not a characteristic of the architects. But kind of ego, which means that we respect, consensus as a form of work, and a teamwork as a modus operandi, for the whole office, and that's something which lasts all the way of these 30 years.
That's really inspiring for me. That you guys were friends, and 30 years later, you're still friends. Your office is huge. You're doing large projects. Marko, what's the secret? Saša mentioned that having low ego, but what would you add to that, to maintaining friendship and maintaining work throughout those years?
I think when we started, we also were thinking project first. Like our goal was not to make just a bunch of friends, but a bunch of friends who can design. And so we put always, every time when we start a project, we are trying to find a team who is best for the project, not we are trying to fit project to ourselves. So if there is a project that Sasha will perform better, or Tanya, or Sylvia, or me, then we decide who will lead the project. And by doing that, we are also not finishing at level of partnership, but also expanding it further on. So we are looking at the best structural engineer who can design it, or best artist, or interior designer, or designer of furniture, equipment. So we are always trying to form the team which goes beyond the boundaries of 3LHD. So we think project comes first, and then we set up the best team. So in that way, there's no place for ego, but it's always, the answer is always what suits the project best, not what suits you, me. But then all debates we are having on creative meetings are going into the direction that you can add something to the table. Mm-hmm. Not fight for your ideas, but fight for the project ideas.
Yeah, and you can all attack project, not attack the person.
Yes. Yeah, you're just attacking the idea. So
adding to,
or adding to it.
Yeah. And this is something that makes easy also when we. It makes somehow decision process ineffective. It's less effective than when there's a one person guiding the whole process through. But in this way, we can also have very young people. Giving their role into project, not being just cat monkeys, but having fully breathing the whole project, knowing the idea. Mm-hmm. So I think this is something that was genuinely perfect fitting formula for 3LHD, and I think it was our generation who had brought it. Before, there was no technology to support this idea, because before you couldn't do it. There was no CAD. You could only have your plan, finish your plan, give somebody else. Now you can share, you can parallel draw all the plans together, you can have all the information, and I think we just use the technology the best way to form the organizational structure.
So I just want to emphasize here for the global audience, that the discrepancy from the cultural context that we mentioned mm-hmm. and what you're talking about here is a completely different culture. And you had to breed that culture within your office, transfer it to your team, grow that culture, and maintain it despite the pressures that are coming from the outside. So yes. Do you think that architectural practice or office or studio or team can become a form of cultural resistance in a way?
I mean, Mare Medlaš 10 years ago, I think, said something which is really interesting about our work methodology. He said that our office is primarily a platform for coordinated production and exchange of ideas. Meaning that from the start, we said we will form the office, which is, depending if we are in Zagreb, Berlin, Paris, whatever, try to develop it like we are, whatever we are. Of course, we are completely aware of the context. We are working in this context. We did a lot of work around actually world, but we are still coming back to this source of inspiration. But our source of inspiration nowadays, especially, is completely white. And maybe that's also every project is different, because we are responding to either local context, either local idea, either local influences or technology. As you said, this area is very specific. You cannot do every technology that you can imagine in some other countries. So we are definitely aware where we are, but try to develop it as it was, whatever it is. And this platform, for us, this production and exchange of ideas and knowledge is important. And what Marko said, nowadays it's much easier. That's why we are developing other things.
Yes, but also the market was developing in parallel with us, because if you look at the clients in 90s,
very different.
Our first clients were people who got some money on the side to build their family houses. So this is maximum we could do at that time. And this transformation from extremely social economy to private economy was first developing my house, and then let's spread it. And so we were growing with these clients, and but we were always have had some empathy for the clients and for the environment or for the society. And in that way we also developed and the market developed.
Yeah, and speaking of the transition, so I want to now focus maybe on that part further, just to kind of explain the background of Zagreb and Zagreb School of Architecture, which was built on modernism of Yugoslavia, which is a very strong movement, and throughout the 90s, I would say even today, we're still living throughout that echo of that school of thought in architecture, at least here in this region. So, but then at one point the shift happened, like you said, the market shifted, the education shifted, the needs shifted, and that framework disappeared. And what I mean about the framework is the social responsibility that that generation of architects taught to the newer generations, that architecture needs to be responsible, etc. But then in a new system, in the neoliberal capital system, that all kind of sort of disappears, and you have to take, individual responsibility. So how did that shift shape the way you think about architecture? And I'm interested as a discipline and as a profession, and also as a position in a society.
So it's exactly as you said. It was a transition started overnight. All the big companies collapsed. All the large architectural offices that built New Zagreb, and they built a lot of these modernist buildings throughout Croatia were erased, gone from the market. So it was like a dinosaur, only the small mice survived. And we were those small energetic mice, and we were ones who were trying to survive in this harsh condition. But the shift was huge, and the only thing which we could bring to all those projects was our individual memory or education that we carried in ourselves about the public space, about the looking at the buildings as a sole standing, but buildings in the context of the city, buildings in the context of urban tissue, society, and of course the nature. So I would say even we had zero education about ecology and sustainability. Looking back, I can be really proud. All the stuff we built was somehow in some backbone had an infection or idea of sustainability and cultural heritage of the site where it was built.
Maybe just to add, we are also a generation of the late 80s, beginning of the 90s. So we still had luck to have our professors were really guys who were building those things, at least in the 60s and 70s. So that's something which I would say also influenced us, especially what Marko said, our awareness of the scale, not about the typology, about only a typology or design, architecture, urbanism, whatever it is. That's something which we were taught, for example, by Professor Hržić. Architecture is in scale, so is it small or middle or big? It's a part of community, and that is something which we, like you said, actually, it was inside of us. But after this economy came, we are actually proud to say that we still have this nerve or for the new projects. Yeah.
So I would like to ask you about your professors that you mentioned. In these shows, we like to always mention that generation because we think it's important to keep the thread. So which professors influenced you the most, and in what way?
It's difficult to say one name. Professor Hržić was really important. Marian Hržić was really important for us. I would say, on the end of the school, because we did. Actually, we also like to call our first project actually Zero Project. The one thing that we did together as a team.
Students.
We were still students for the Seattle. It was a Seattle Commons, really interesting project, which Mara always said it's your manifesto project, which was really interesting because it tackles urban planning or urban development, architecture, design in a huge. It was also the time when that was happening. But of course, there are a lot of other projects, professors. Professor, I don't know, Fabianic, Žarnić. I mean, a lot of them. Mimica was also on the beginning of our project before he go back into the Netherlands.
Filipović.
Nikola Filipović, yes. Maj Vlahović, Branko Kincel. So there are guys who actually really build a lot. That's something which was also important because they can show that they showed us what's also a built thing, what means to the urban development or whatever. And in a different, they also did a really different typologies, which actually stays with us because our architectural job is also practice, but also it's education. We do education also. It's not scientific, but things that we develop or research things that was also important for us. And I don't know if of course I forgot to mention a lot of other Josic on the beginning and so on. So that's a generation which actually was building more through the 60s, 70s and 80s. For example, we just catch also on the beginning of our studies really legendary professors from even a period after the war. But that was interesting to hear them. But those the names which I mentioned and those who I didn't was really influence in giving us some of those spirit that you said of.
You forgot Hilda.
Of course, Hilda was really important also. Our friend. I mean that's difficult to count all the names, but those professors from the middle 80s to the 90s on the school was for us important, of course.
What did they focus the most on? What did they try to transfer? What kind of thinking philosophy or design philosophy they try to transfer? You mentioned the relationship between the city and the object. Yeah. That's one part, and I know that, for example, in Belgrade School of Architecture, the focus was on housing. We even had something called the Belgrade School of Apartment, if I translated it right.
It is.
Which was done in all parts of the world. It influenced a lot of design ideas, even I think in Scandinavia. So I know that Zagreb also focused on housing at one point, but what else was interesting for you? Some ideas that you took and you still think that influence your work today?
I think relation to the city and to the city scale, because in our school the buildings were never a plot, so we were always thinking big. And Saša what said about Seattle. First, our work during the study, and we designed a mega building, more than 100,000 square meters.
200.
So we were not scared of scale. The second competition after the forming the company was the Seoul library.
Seoul library.
5 libraries actually.
Library, museum, so huge building. So we were never scared of scale, but always related to the city. So, and also it came from our school that not building is standing alone.
Yeah.
And I think it's a best lesson we learned.
Yeah, I just remember.
And also, all these professors were also engineers. We were not a decorative school. So it was always important that there's a rationale behind the building, that the buildings are not just funny objects.
I think you can see that, sorry for interrupting, but you showed us the bridge, which will, of course, after we'll walk around and you'll show us the detail of the bridge in Rijeka. And it has that, notion of relation to the city, but also attention to technical detail.
All the scales, all scales. And what Marko said, that's maybe the best thing that we, I would say, introduce in our work through our professors and our knowledge at school. Of course, housing is important. We have, I forgot, Grozdan Knežević, who was part of those, I would say, a Belgrade school also of housing. Branko Kincel was also, they are really, Dražen Juračić, they were really great architects of those things. But you have to remember that housing completely dropped out of our actually site during the 90s, I would say, during
only private homes were built.
Yeah. 2000. So that's something which we were missing. Of course, now it's a little bit different. But yes, we just brought a lot of knowledge that was gave to us through our professor, they were actually part of the legacy. I really like to call that late modernism, because it's not the 30s, 1930s modernism, but 50s, 60s, 70s, which were really, really great architecture, even in Belgrade, in Zagreb, in this area, I would say, of 400 kilometers radius or something, which of course is influenced by West, by East, but everything else. Yeah.
So one last question for this first, let's say, introductory segment is about the choice. The choice of doing architecture, pursuing architectural career at that time. We explained the context. Was this choice for you an existential choice? Like, we have to do this because we have nothing else to do, or was it something else, something beyond that? I'm interested because at those difficult times, it's even hard today to pick architecture as a profession. Mm-hmm. But at that time, what made you pursue this career? Like, I'm asking you probably had your intimate, reasons, motivations.
You go first.
I mean, we also like to, sometimes when they ask us about our heritage or past, whatever, or family, nobody in our families were architects. I mean, all four of us, actually five of the partners, we didn't have parents or grandparents as architects. But actually, it was, I would say, desire. We are different people, but through this joint, as I said on the beginning, we didn't know that we will last so long. Mm-hmm. But during this school period and those, I would say, mainly cooperation with us, we just said, okay, that's our occupation, that's our métier, our job, and we are probably the most common, I would say, way of thinking was this integral and team-oriented, thinking. And existential, of course, on the beginning it was for bread and butter. But as I said, we did a lot of interior works. That's something which we always recommend to young architects. Do everything. Do kitchen in your living room, to the cafes, to the smaller things, to the houses. We had actually traditional development.
Saša didn't tell you the whole story. So it was worse than this. So
I know
when we won this project for the hotel,
okay.
We didn't have a company, so we had to form the company, and we didn't have any relatives who ever had a company. So there's no friend or family you can ask, how do you form the company? And in the school there was no education about it because our professor didn't know it. So we came.
What's
to
the tax?
How do you do it?
Pay tax.
Yeah. Whatever. So
basic stuff.
I think Tanya's friend, she was a lawyer. She said, I'll help you to form the company. Okay, let's form the company. And what's going to be the name? Oops, what's the name? I don't know. We are not going to use the family names because we are going probably to collapse. So no shame to the family. So let's do something what connects us. And then there was this story about three left-handers, Saša, Tanya, Silvia, left-handers, and I didn't use hand to draw. I used hard drive to store the data. So
the only one.
Yeah, it was three left-handers and the hard drive. So this is a funny story from the beginning, but this funny story was not so funny because after, I would say, 6 months of working on the project was sold. And we had a company and no income. So
no office space.
No office space, nothing, no income. So what we did is we started to do like on separate small things, designing the furniture, designing interiors for friends.
Whatever came.
I had a computer, and this was time when CGI was developing. So I started working a lot in 3D and offering service for 3D
for all our professors.
So I was most wanted at the time.
You were sustaining the crew.
But it was really difficult. So it was not. And then after building first family, 3-4 years after having direct order to build one family house, and after winning competition for the bridge, somehow the story developed so we could sustain and have income from the work. So it was existential in a very essential way. Very difficult, very difficult time.
I remember somebody said, so you started in garage. I said, no, we didn't have any garage. Like a computer, no, we didn't have any garage.
We were
squatting actually at the faculty at the school on the 5th floor. That's thanks to the guys on the 5th floor, and Hilda and all the professors, and Mladen Josic, of course. We were actually renting a table. We didn't rent it after hours, actually. So that was our first office. Then after a few years, we rent the space, and it was really demanding on the beginning.
But you still continued pursuing competition. You still do them today. That's
not so much.
But we are.
Yeah, we are. But we cannot afford anymore like more than 3-4 competitions a year.
Yeah, that's actually our. I mean, they're important not only for us.
It's our gym.
Yeah, it's our gym. It's building new ideas, and you can do that always in those competitions. Now we try to do let's say international competition, which is different world.
No, it's Montenegro is international competition.
Of course, Montenegro. But what I want to say, we try to keep it in the office, of course, but it's maybe 3 or 4 maximum a year.
But you said we do it because it keeps us, young
Fit.
or fit and in training, and that's something I hear quite often. We had discussions in Serbian speaking area with offices that becoming large or larger, let's say, and they always mention like we cannot sustain ourselves, we can't do competitions as much, but we still like to do them because it keeps us fresh. And our mentors used to tell us that competitions keep them still students of architecture.
Yes, but what I'm strongly against it, I'm now more and more thinking that the competition should be paid. Mm-hmm. Because the architects are the only population in the world who are going to give their work as free. I think the most bizarre thing was Nobel Center in Oslo. I think there was more than 1,000 architects submitting the work. So you imagine how much effort was put into designing this competition, which was completely running down the drain. So I think there should be some new culture coming on that clients have to pay work, or it should be somehow 2-stage competitions or whatever, because losing 1,000 offices, 5 to 10 people to finish this competition is completely waste of time and money. So I think it's a gentleman's fight, but it should be somehow regulated.
Yeah, I understand the argument.
Newcomers should definitely have wild cards. Ivanišević won Wimbledon on wild card. We started company as a wild card.
Yeah.
First prize for the hotel, which was our first project, was wild card, because lucky losers actually. That's the other term. The one professor actually dropped, and we were get in and won the competition. So, for the let's say younger or less experienced architect, it's of course it's important to do in the competition of ideas, and you learn something. But if it's the only thing, the new generation of architects already understand this. We are doing this, but we need to have a not commercial. That's really word I hate, but the work that they will give them bread and butter, like you said. So that should be parallel. But when you grow as an office, it's very difficult to sustain unpaid competition in the large amount.
But thinking now, if it's difficult for us to sustain more competition, you can imagine what is that for the young people. So I think even the young people should be given wild card and paid some money on competition for participation, not for winning the prize, because it's somehow not sustainable. There's a lot of frustration, of course. I mean, it's nice that the best are giving awards, but the awards is not enough sometimes to survive. So it should be somehow regulated.
One more thing, I mean, in the culture of competition, this younger generation, to give the chance to younger generation is developed in Austria, Germany, France, Spain, even Spain. So the organized competition, smaller scales, just for the, I would say, younger people under, I don't know, 30, 40 years old, now 30 maybe, but so they can get chance to maybe build something. But just a reminder to the older generation, we did, I would say, maybe 100 competitions in our career. We won 20 or 30 and we built just a few. That's the sad thing. But of course, you can say it's a competition of idea, you're developing yourself, of course, but every concept design now for us is a small competition, either invited with the two architects or a client order some. In our office, it's a way of thinking. So every concept design, the beginning, as always in competition, is a concept design. For us, is the same thing. That's our development, development of our ideas.
So competitions are healthy, and I think especially for smaller buildings, kindergartens, public buildings should be just for the young people. I don't think the old offices should design this small scale at all. So it should be just for the, under 40.
There are two lines of thought I heard when discussing with older and younger colleagues. One say, some are extreme, maybe like we shouldn't do free work at all. I kind of disagree with that. I think I'm more on the side of like we should have more competitions and more different typologies of competitions. Like you said, like smaller scale, maybe free work is good for young architects that want to compete, look for their opportunity, risk more, but also gain more. Like you have the opportunity to do a public project like you did. But for let's say more experienced and well-developed offices, we should need more paid competitions with different levels of entering. So you don't do like all the we do everything until the last render, and sometimes we even try to restrain ourselves and say like this competition we won't do HD renders, and then we do it at the end because it's so hard not to do it.
For us, it's difficult to think
let's do
like
3 renders and then we do 10 renders at the end.
Yeah, of course. For us, it's difficult to think like that because we always give everything. We spend a lot of money.
It's a problem. The problem is because the architecture is not just work; it's a passion. So you want the best for your work, you love it, and then you are willing to give everything into it.
And spending more.
But this is why it should be regulated, because we are somehow crazy and we need professional assistance.
Yeah, I agree.
But 2 stages is maybe one of the solutions, and don't get us wrong, we are still doing some projects which are competitions which are not paid, but that's our decision. So once, twice a year, we will do that because it's interesting, it's important, it's so on. But as you grow up, then you choose what to do, of course. And actually, we are doing even with the choosing project, when clients are coming, of course, we will do something from the typology that we know. But sometimes, you are choosing a project, you cannot choose so much because of the market. But we didn't do that. Let's do something different. For example, now school. We did the school because we didn't have a school, and now we want
portfolio
and the kindergarten and so on. So that's also for us in our stage of development. It's important. But when you are young, you are not choosing. You are just doing some commercial or for living and some competition. But like Marko said, we always give our best and we spend a lot of money. Even if we were paid for the competition in a
maybe you
second
would do
stage,
more.
we will spend more money.
Much more.
Much more money.
I think like we started to do videos for competition, which were never
before
requested, but let's do it now because it's going to better express the idea. Sometimes now it's models. Somebody asks you to do the model. Somebody asks you to do the video. It costs money. It's not, it's a huge production. Just besides the idea, architecture, and the concept. So it's not going to be sustainable, and the architecture really needs some professional help from the side.
Yeah, and I think it's our responsibility to organize competitions. No one is going to fight for a different model except we do. Like, I think it's our playground, and we should take responsibility for making that playground the way we want it to be. And it's not going to change other ways. And like you said, maybe, but I think I understood your argument is that maybe you would do more competitions if you had different models and way to sustain it. Okay, you're not doing it to make huge profits from that, but at least make it sustainable so you're not,
that's the part of where the planning of 1 year. Then you said, okay, we'll do 3 projects, which with the other projects we will finance those things. That's our philosophy. But I don't know, in this stage of our development and what are we doing now as an amount of work, not big, small, we cannot afford to do more than, let's say.
Free time.
No free time, I mean, because we are occupied with
other things.
Some competitions were done because some projects were stalled. So we had a team free.
Let's go.
We didn't have a budget, but it was a free team, so let's do it.
I mean, it's sometimes our friend Boštjan Vuga said sometimes the best competition is the one that you won, which is true. I remember it was we had some not spare time, but we did I think 4 competitions in a row. And there was all 4 was a second place, so kind of. But it is exercise, and you learn from one to. But it's like in every project, you learn in one project
inside the competition because you set yourself outside the box, and you think you have to answer different questions, and it's not routine work. So
for us, it's not.
You have to think very fast, like a parachuter. The ideas have to come quickly, and this is also like you can not do it 9 to 5. And a lot of these competitions, I still come here in the office and until 3 in the morning, adjusting some crazy little details.
Yeah, but it's just your own play.
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah, but. Speaking of the authorship in any project and in competitions especially, and especially when you're working as a group of authors like yourself, I think this question is never simple. And I want to talk now about your organization and particularly the relationship between the collective and the individual and how you balance that in your office. So at what point did your architectural office had to make that transition or make that step and tell to yourselves, okay, now we need to have a serious system? I guess you were developing that from the very beginning. When you're working as a smaller group, you always have to have some kind of system. But when you transform from being a group of authors to collective system, how do you balance that individual authorship and collective responsibility?
Okay, I'll start with this first part of the question, Sasha, maybe continue on the second one. At the beginning, it was very easy because it were small jobs and we could handle it by ourselves. So I was doing something on the computer, they were using the hands, but when we employed first, second, third employee, we were getting nervous a bit because how much money is enough to sustain? And then
not earning, but to just to sustain as a.
And then we started to create one Excel file where there was income and outcome, and it was somewhere around 2000, and it was really scary because you have 8 salaries, 10 salaries. How do you get the money, and how much you have to charge, how much you have to give to the your colleagues, civil engineers, how this money is divided. And this system was struggling, it was not easy to do it. Then we decided that not any 4 of us founders is going to be a manager, that we need a professional manager because we want to be architects. So suddenly we had a team member in the office, manager, professional, who is not architect, and somehow we were pulled out of this decision-making process, responsibility to the state, the law, the financing, the salaries. All this bureaucratic part was pushed to our manager, Natko Bilic. By the way, he was a friend of mine who I met during the summer, and he said, I'm thinking to pull out of the desktop publishing and try something new. I said, come to us.
It was in Stradun, in Dubrovnik.
Come to us.
Like Balkan way.
Come to us. We need somebody. We are growing and we don't know how to organize all things. And then with him, for him it was not easy because architects are the economy is not important. It's our work important. And then we, during this process of implementing manager and speaking with him and fighting for ideas, we really developed this new layer of abstraction in the office. So instead of being office where the architect is employing people, drawing, speaking to client, going to construction site, we abstracted this layer of management of the company, and we started to be like board of members. We somehow initiated something that gave us opportunity to grow and not to fight each other who is going to be manager in the company. Because nobody wants it.
Who's going to care about the pays or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Because it's a bureaucratic work, it's not anymore architecture. Mm-hmm. And we were early in careers. Maybe now it would be easier to quit design, but when you're in your 30s, you still want to design it. And this was, I think, best decision we did, even it was very...
Well, I mean, a lot of people ask us, you're 10 of... There were altogether 10 of us and you have a director. How come? And only people from the business, actually, our friends, recognize, no, this is a good idea. Because you're moving the organizational part. But we were messing in the organization, of course, and tried to develop it. And I don't know, I mean, we believe in process, in planning from the beginning, like we said, but somehow, I don't know, we realized from the beginning that we need a good organization and planning, actually. And that actually came, I mean, of course, in the beginning, until, I don't know, 2000, it was, you know, going back and forth. But from the 2000, we started to build more until I don't know, Natko came first, then Romana, then now Vlado, which are actually, every of them, you know, developed some new part of our, what you can call it, pyramid of organization, which is
we can say we are very hierarchical in this structural way, organization, but very democratic, horizontal in design part of the company. So even you have student, you can you have to
participate in the ideas on the table. We said, you know. So
but company is very hierarchical in this organizational way.
In every part, organizational, technical, whatever. I mean, we came to the volume and every. Now it's definitely different than 10 years ago. But it's an iteration process, you know, two-step.
But funny thing about management and architects, Natko was reading this, our former manager, he was reading these all business papers, which we were not interested. We were reading Architecture Review, Detail, you know, this magazine. He was into Economist and others. And he said, there's a big storm coming from the United States. It's going to hit all the markets. We said,
mid 2000.
It was 2008, and he said, and he said it's going to be very harsh. He said, don't bother.
We survived.
We survived.
Worst in the 90s.
So, and then it really came and hit us hard. It was 2009. We were having 2 offices. We opened office in Split. Saša was. It was one project office for Palladium Arena, which had to be designed and built in 420 days. So imagine, we had no employees.
12,000 seats arena.
Plus tower, plus garage, plus shopping mall.
It was for the European Championship, World Championship in handball.
So 420 days, you have no office, no employees, nothing. You just had
in Split, in the city of Split, you know.
So we had the idea, and then
but
our manager helped us to form the company. Saša was delegated to run
to go back and forth there. I mean, this was actually showing us also that the organization, from the organizational part, we can do that. But then on the end of this project, it was 2009, it was crisis everywhere, so we, of course, the project was finished, first phase was finished, and we said, okay, we need to stop this office in Split and come back here.
We as architects, we would never cancel the office and let out people, because we have wonderful people, you cannot let them go. But
we lower our
But he as a manager,
raise,
he said, guys, you are going to bankrupt the company if you don't stop immediately. So we canceled the office
in Split, and just
shrink the Zagreb office, and it was the reason why we think we survived 2008. If we were only architects in the office, without manager, we would be down.
But what's even more impressive is that you continually keep the quality of your work. Even on the conceptual level, on the technical level. So I'm interested, how do you make a system that maintains that throughout time? So I know you guys are, like you said, 3LHD, you put an accent on technology, I know you're BIM users, ArchiCad users, we can say that because they are also sponsors of this series. And so can you tell me more about, how do you maintain that on the, like you said, on the hierarchical level, but also on the infrastructural level, on the technical level?
On technical level...
Maybe just one word before this. Marko in the beginning said that for us, the project is the most important thing, nothing else. I mean, of course, the other things, but the project is for us the base, and then we develop everything around it.
So,
On the beginning.
In the beginning, yes. In every project, it's like this. But if Saša said also that the 3LED is a project, it's not office. It's a project, constantly evolving and thinking about it. So, as I said, this first Excel turned into first custom software that we are running from 2004. It was software to enter the hours into database. So we had 2004 till today, we have every hour spent in the office digitally stored. So the person, the job, and the amount of hours is counted. And this helped us to make decision how much we have to charge to be sustainable. And this was like something that you couldn't do before, because it was first Java application. We had first very primitive browsers, but the software was not exe file. I don't know if you know what is exe file, but so it was internet running software. And then this software was converted into software that ran all the transactions from the company, incomes and paying the bills. And then it became a information backbone of the company. And this helped the manager to make decisions about and it was very easy to open the office. What will be the salaries, how much will be expenses, and this is something that without the data and without the manager you cannot do. So the next thing in development of this backbone was we started to do larger projects, and we were not happy how the bill of quantities are designed. So we were always cheated on construction site, and we would select, I don't know, the parquet, oak, premier quality, and in a bill of quantity it was written like wooden floor by decision of the architect. And he said, no, this we have to quit this practice, because what is written here, anybody, the owner thinks he will get the best oak without any mistakes. Then architects similar, but then the construction contractor will think, oh, I have the cheapest wooden panel. So there was a huge range between something you design and something that you want to build. And we were always oriented to this idea, the project first, and then we have to build what we designed, not some Frankenstein. And this was only possible if the bill of quantity and all the documentation that went to construction site is perfect, so it can actually be built. And the buildings were more and more complicated, like this spaceship, done in 420 days, and it was unsustainable to do it traditional way. We had an old lady doing bill of quantities, and we were only designing, and these things were not matching. So we decided to do specifications. So everything that is imported in the building has to have its own page, specification, where we describe the quality of material, the looks, the finishing, the aging, everything is in this specification. And we started to do it first in Word and Excel, and it was not good. And then we said, okay, let's make a software to do these specifications, because for us it was really important that the hotel has the exact furniture as we specified, not that the construction company or some contractor selects it for you.
Or change.
That changes, yes. Then it's not your architecture and not your idea. And another breakthrough was BIM. In 2007, we started to do, decided to forget to the AutoCAD and started to use ArchiCAD. Because again, it's not because we like technology, but because we wanted the buildings that are very complex to be designed as we wanted. Because during the designing these smaller buildings and complicated buildings, there was so many pipes that were coming below the beams, and something you designed couldn't fit. but we were obsessed, but maybe like car industry, because you remember first cars like Ford or had a separate lights outside, and everything was like assembled of the parts. But in 90s and 2000, the cars become design objects. You could, or computers or telephones, everything was really completely designed by CAD. So you can see that everything was fitting in the whole idea. And this development in the other disciplines of design and the production, we tried to bring in architecture, and then we saw BIM as perfect solution, because what we can design, we can test fit during this design stage, and we can build it without any mistakes, because we wanted our building to look like our renderings, which is still true. And then the BIM was the next level in development, and the bus terminal in Rijeka was first BIM model that we did in ArchiCad, and it was really complex because it had this seven. It has this diagrid structure all around, each in different angles, and it was completely impossible to design it in traditional form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe to expand further about the second part of the question, which is the design philosophy and the culture in the office. So I guess you don't have as much as time to put your attention to every single project, and then you have to give the responsibility to someone else, or even to maybe a younger colleague that wants to push some idea. But how do you push back when the project needs to come and just keep the identity of what the office is trying to achieve?
I mean, just to add to this, and Marko always tries to emphasize, we are technical, really advanced from the beginning, and try to catch up with the. Actually, we learn from car industry, from film industry, from everything, like the offices today. But for the most important thing is idea, and how to develop this idea, and to attention to all the details until the end. So there's no projects in the office who are we are just doing it. We're not working on the project if we cannot do it, not like we like, because there is a lot of architecture is not an art. We have a client, we have a budget, we have whatever it is, but the idea from the beginning, which are most important to tell to the client and everyone, we want to maintain idea all the way to the end. And with a lot of collaborations, integration of those technologies, it helps us absolutely nowadays, especially help us to achieve this. Like Marko said, from the first render, we would like to because they are very perfected now. We would like to execute the building the same thing as renders. And the other thing also, we actually learned through every collaboration, from Maili Peta in Zurich, in Switzerland, to Eduardo Soto de Moura. Those collaborations, we learn from them also about the works, about how to detail things. The now playground of architecture is really much simpler, but focus on the detail is not an image. That's the problem that's something else.
Maybe the cultural layer in the company also had to grow with this decision you're asking. So first we introduced project leaders. This was a cultural shift. Instead of partners being completely dedicated to a single project, yes, we decided to experienced level of architects in a company became project leaders. And this was some transfer of responsibility to another layer in the company. It was always difficult, and it will be always difficult to give something that you know the best to somebody younger. But if you can survive it, then you can create a company that can sustain even larger and parallel more
But
work.
you still keep that horizontal, that every project leader can be challenged from bottom up.
Yes, yes. And then
team is important.
Yeah.
then also we also created a fine layer below the project leaders. We had a senior project designers, then project architects, then junior architects, and we nominated these layers and their responsibilities. There was a lot of work of implementing this in the company. Also, one of the project leader became our fifth partner, Paula Kukuljica, I think now almost 10 years ago. She was a project leader, and when we decided to somehow also to grow the company and to develop better functionality within the company, she was insider man. She grew with the company.
With us. Yeah.
With us, but she was more into design that we were, like, because we were already abstracted in some way, and she knew all the. She knew better than us the company, and all together we decided, let's initiate the fifth partner. She's also left-hander.
Okay, another left-hander.
By chance.
Okay, that's by chance.
I think this also cultural change showed that Real HD is not just fortress of 4 founding partners, that is expandable and it can grow as the projects need. Again, to say, we never wanted to have 70 people company. Our idea is just to design. And as we put the project in the first place, then we say, okay, we have this new project, we have to build company around it. We have to expand the company, grow the knowledge. And this was the reason why we also introduced in the end of last year, we have a new layer, it's called Associate Partners, and we have 10 people from the company who are now Associate Partners, and they will be not in the management of the company, but they will be shareholders in and share the success and losses of the company.
And that's the people who are with us between 10 and 20 years. So they grew with us. They did the projects, execute the projects, and everything. And they are people who are dedicated to our. Well, I don't know. Is it only a mission, but idea of the project, of the office.
And as you said, so this is a hierarchical development of a company. There was technological development of a company, but the whole time we are trying to sustain this horizontal
design-based
practice, because otherwise the company would be not empty of young people, ideas, and fresh attitude.
So you mentioned projects are first, so I would like now to put focus on specific projects. I don't want to go in any particular way. Maybe we can expand the discussion in this manner. So maybe we can start maybe from the question of which particular project challenged the way you think either about architecture or about the things we talk about. Which were those projects or collaborations which made you expand the office, made you grow, made you rethink your approach towards the organization and towards architecture?
Well, there was different milestone projects, we like to say. The first one is definitely a bridge, Memorial Bridge, because actually it was the first project that we introduced actually internet.
I can say if there was no internet, there would never be Memorial Bridge. I can later show you on a mock-up why. But imagine building a bridge in Croatia in 90s, 2000, and there's no knowledge how to design very thin structure, because we submitted 45 or 50 centimeters
55
thin structure,
35 span over the river or the camp channel, 35 centimeters, 5 meter wide, and altogether 40 meter long. And how to do this 55? It's
and
like
if there was no internet, I think first thing this bridge wouldn't survive, because there were a lot of people in city of Rijeka whose engineering association said this is not possible. It's completely impossible to build such thin bridge. And how we get to this thin structure? during the studying, we were not perfect at the structural engineering, and we were...
You know the basics, but this is very specific.
Yes, but there was one lady who was giving us lecture. You know, she was she was giving lecture for the structural
subjects.
Yes, structure. And in the night we were. It was very short time to submit the bridge competition, and we called her and said, "What is the thinnest bridge you know that was built around?" Well, she said, "There is in Czechoslovakia, I think, 27 centimeters bridge spanning above the highway." "Ah, thank you." We cut the line. Then we designed it. Let's make it double. 55, and we are sure it still looks very thin and elegant. And then,
but she forgot something.
And then we cut the line too soon because she didn't tell us that it was spanband. So
spanband is a structure which can be hanging.
Hanging bridge. It was not. So this naive idea gave us big headache because the civil association in Rijeka said this is impossible to build, and then we get very nervous, but we send a letter to Ove Arup. You know, Ove Arup is the legendary structural company of Denmark and London, designing for all major architecture offices. We are, you know, almost students, not students.
It was a little before Millennium Bridge of Foster, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was
and we calling Arup and sending email, because before email you cannot do it. You cannot call on the telephone. Mm-hmm. And they send an answer. This is possible in three ways. First,
3 solutions.
You can do carbon core and concrete outskirts, and there's only carbon bridge, and maybe steel. And we got this letter, and we were very happy. A letter from Ove Arup, sent it to the Civil Association in Rijeka. I said, nothing. Then suddenly the guy that was a friend of ours who was selling some BIM software, he had a cousin in Germany, in Munich,
in really
doing with one of the best Schleich. He's a German legend.
Yeah, German legend for the bridges, especially, or the big spans.
Big spans, yeah. And then they designed for us proposed just steel structure, but again we sent this letter from Schleich. Again, they were not impressed, and then we came to structural office in structural university in Zagreb. Zlatko Šavor. His wife was an architect, and but she said, "My husband is going to help you."
but the first sentence of Šavor, which was great, she said, "Typical architect, stupid solution." But we can do that because you are lucky. Rijeka has a shipyard.
The port shipyards. Yeah.
And we said, "Really? We can do that?" Okay, a little bit from the 55, you have to expand it to 65. We said, "Wow." Yes.
But what was funny? We put him in a car. Put this young Croatian engineers working at the Schleich office from Germany. We sat in the car, went to Rijeka, and he, as a professor from the University of Zagreb, told the local association, "This can be done." And that's
we built a model and explaining actually how you, with the load in the between, with a special, not special, but with the pilots, how can we do the very inert structure of the steel bridge in one piece, built in shipyard and brought to the site. That's what we explained. And then, of course, they were silent. Those engineers who said cannot be built.
You see how many things were here, pure luck or help from somewhere
outer source,
which was not, which you cannot program. So there is a huge will from us as a young to build this bridge, and then we came to a moment when we had to select final materials. And how do you select something that is called memorial if it's concrete? You cannot have part concrete, part metal. So we decided to use extruded aluminum. And then we called a Swedish company called Sapa to design special extrusion for us. And
which is standard, actually, extrusions
for the banana ships.
But it is actually profiles for, like in the windows, you know. But they can, we can do that. It's not it's not expensive to develop the mold for that. Okay, we were in the budget. But just to add to the question, there was a milestone. That was the first milestone. And when somebody asked us which is the the projects that we like the process and everything, that's definitely the bridge, because we did all this what was said. It was designing it 1.5 years, and it was built in just 6 months.
3.
And you'll see a little bit later one-to-one scale details what we did. So we did like in the car industry.
Just want to finish something. Yeah. So again, it was given to a company that was never designing the bridges. Yeah. It was a road company. They designed the viaducts and the roads. And all these details, so we had from Sweden the special profile. Then we had special glass, 19 millimeter thick glass that can sustain 200 meter wind on a side. Then we wanted to have the lighting, and there was no way to lit the bridge from the handrail at that time. So again, internet helped us. We called the New Zealand company that was developing fiber optics. And we had
it is 1997, I think, started of the bridge. So just imagine, I mean, for those who doesn't know, there was no LED then, before that.
We are calling New Zealand to help us to develop the fiber optics to have the lights from the handrails. Because the light bulbs at the moment were huge, and you cannot have a huge electricity where the people are putting their hands. And again, we have a glass, this balustrade, and you cannot pull the electricity.
That's Slovenia, Rogaška, the cast glass in the middle.
But also. Just let me finish this. And then we came to, there was one older electrical engineer who said, I was on the fair and I had this new sample of LEDs. It's a Osram, it's a German company. They did this small, it's like a small chips that emit light. But before this, LEDs were only red, green or yellow. There was no blue LED. And somehow Osram designed these small chips. And we said, okay, now we have something that we are going to lit the bridge.
It was not a standard.
There is no housing. So how do you put it outside? It's a sea environment, is going to rotten. And we called the Italian company to do the housing, and they said, it's too complicated. We are not sure if we are going to do it, and we canceled them. And there was since we were doing something with epoxy resin at that time, we said to this guy, can you fill the aluminum profile filled with these LEDs and put epoxy resin? Is it going to be waterproof? Yeah, no problem. We can soak it in the water. It's completely watertight. And this is how we had the first LED lights in an outside environment ever in the world.
So that was the first bridge in the world that
no
had
bridge.
LED.
Any
object
outside.
Outside, and you put the LED. It was 1999.
So it was just because we had a huge desire to lit the bridge from the handrail, and there was no other option to do it, because this fiber optics was very complicated, and you couldn't bend these fibers in a 90 degrees, couldn't fit design. So the only way was. So you see, just on this bridge, how many things have to assemble to bring your vision to life. Also, if this construction company didn't employ the guy to do all these final works, he was not part of this road and bridges design. He was designing in part of the shipyard, and people designing the boats were always open towards ordering, because in the boat you cannot buy something here at the local supermarket. As a construction guys, they always go to Bauhaus and
bricks,
But this guy said, no problem, I'm going to call to Sweden. He knew the English, he organized everything, and we assembled bridge in 3 months, completely fast. And the funny thing that this guy was also collaborating with the largest tobacco company in Croatia. And by his recommendation, after finishing the bridge, he said, there is a company in Rovinj that's going to develop tourism, and I work with them. I'm going to invite you to help them on some competitions, small competitions that they are going to do. And imagine he, as a subcontractor, introduces us to largest developer, who later became Maestra, and we did the best hotels we did was for them.
You'll see a little bit later detail of the bridge, and that's we would like to say, if every project is done like that one, 1.5 years of those kind of research, development, everything, and built in just 3 months, with every detail, every screw, everything, on the place, that's the ideal thing. We'd like to see always beautiful projects from whatever the name is, beautifully designed. You cannot always achieve completely like that, but that was maybe first milestone. Then afterwards, I would say maybe Hotel Lone was the second.
Expo.
But sorry, yes. And one more thing. All the experience until then in interiors, the small houses, everything led to the bridge also, the care for the details. For Expo was also one interesting, important thing in 2005. In Japan, we won the competition public for a Croatian pavilion for the World Expo in Aichi in Japan, and there was also introducing of the people who are to do temporary architecture, which is for us was very important, very interesting. And after that came a lot of little different small pavilions. But there we also were how do I say, training, about temporarity, about media, about collaboration with not only media but also with artists, with the photographers, and so on. And that was also really, really important, because it was our first actually project built somewhere else in Japan. And after that...
just let me also stay a little bit on this project. It was, again, you're going to build in a new country, Japan, with no knowledge, very fast pace. So we employed a Japanese architect to come to the office. We had, for 1 year, architect Yasuo Kitanago working for us. Again, very
helping with the communication.
And
really good architect.
And we were collaborating with very famous Croatian photographer Damir Fabjanic. He was also working on a competition with us. Dalibor Martinis, conceptual artist. Then Ivan Marušić Cliff, visual artist. Then Branko Cvjetičanin, light designer. Then Vjeran Šalomon, sound designer. So all these people were helping to design something that had to be assembled in Japan very quickly. And
6 months.
Yeah. It's also like
it's the same logic, same process, but just on a
completely different.
In the sense of the process of the work, you have to do everything fine detail because it's getting built there.
In highly developed country, Marko and I had the experience went to the Japan. It was for us, when you read the Rem Koolhaas SML Excel, there is a part of how you work in Japan. And actually it was repeating again. On the first meeting, we are talking about the pavilion, I don't know how much square meters. And the first question was, how are you going to do the ceramics in the bathroom? He said, what? Different kind of thinking and hierarchy of the system, but they're great, in technology and everything. So, and their will to execute our ideas, because there were ideas which were really challenging let's say. but we went to Panasonic to see the projectors. They were actually keen to work, this Japanese proudness of to execute something very idea to transfer to the finished project, which was a great experience.
When we didn't know how to execute something, we would tell them, you are Japanese, you must know.
You must know.
You must know how this detail works. But we envisioned like a huge platform for 10 by 4 meters that was lifting people. They could lift like 100 people, no problem, to lift them from ground zero to plus 5 meters. In complete silence, without any shaking. So they did it so perfectly that people who were in there were thinking that the floor is coming down, not that they are going to lift it.
Yeah, it was one of the projects which is very difficult to show as a photos, as finished.
It's an experience,
yeah. Architecture is 1-to-1, so you have to experience it. But this one especially, because there was a projection, we forgot. Vinko Brešan, famous director, and Stanko Herceg, who did the film. They filmed the Croatia from above. And zooming in and out. And you have to experience it through the platform and through this gallery. So it was really, really interesting to have a project which is not with the architectural means, the beam, the structure, everything, but you have to create the atmosphere, which every project should do that. But for us, it was really good experience, and that was probably one of the milestones to go ahead with the other experience, like
we also designed with Maršić Cliff first interactive. At that time, it was early ages of interactive software projecting acoustics on a floor. When people were walking, you had later on you could find this in every shopping mall around the world. But at that moment, it was like pinnacle because he had the sensors, infrared cameras, which were recording people, and then people were where they stepped. It was
like a diagram.
Yeah, everything was like interconnected. So cameras developing software, putting projectors on a screen.
You're walking, and the sensors, sensors for your walking reacted on a creating image like you're walking on the water, but you're not walking on the water, kind of. But that's something which all those collaborations, we said, okay, collaborations are fruitful for the projects, every collaboration. That's on the beginning we said we collaborate on every level with everybody who can contribute to the to develop best ideas to the project.
Then came Zamet Sport Hall, and then Bale Sport Hall. Bale Sport Hall was one very small village, sustainable building in Istria, and we had a local community order to make in 10 months sport hall, and we had 10 months, no projects again, and it was next to the school, and the whole village has 1,000 inhabitants. So you have to be. We had
5 months to design and 6 months to execute. Altogether 11 months, whatever, with a strict budget.
Yeah, and then here you're coming into really beautiful environment. Everything was designed in a village with a dry stone walls, and somehow you cannot do a spaceship there. So we were trying to be somehow low profile to sustain our egos again, and to design something next to the schoolyard. In the schoolyard, to design sports hall. But it should also be a sport hall for the public.
Public hall for the community, for the meetings,
gatherings. So we designed everything with prefabricated concrete. But we invented how to do drywall in prefabrication table. So the huge prefabrication table was filled with the sand, then the stone was laid down upside down and filled with concrete insulation, and then another layer concrete. And when you turn it around, you just wash the grouts and you have drywall structure made on a prefabricated concrete. So it was the only way how you can do it quickly. And also on the roof, we also laid the dry stone walls, stone pieces. And this pothole was awarded locally with some awards, which was very nice. But then we submitted work to WAF,
World Architecture Festival
in Barcelona. And there we went to see Barcelona just for fun.
No, we were selected to the four finalists in the category of sports, and you have to defend your projects. First, between actually selection in four was it was like a lecture, like a presentation. Then when we were when we were finalists, then you have a big jury. And it was Charles Jenks, Cécile Balmont, famous engineer, and so on. And we were presenting, and I have to say this: Charles Jenks, of course, the famous guru of postmodernism, and so I said it was a mimicry, you know, of the village. I said, finally, somebody, our architects, admitted that it's a mimicry. And Cécile Balmont said, maybe you could do it, you know, because he's really a great structural engineer. And then I explained again, but you know, there was a budget, there is a, okay.
Yeah.
But what was interesting, that this, in between these four projects that we were selected, and then we won.
Name them.
Yeah, was Wembley Stadium by Foster. It was Water Cube, you know, the swimming in Beijing, and I forgot the third one, and we were selected as a winner. So it was a huge surprise for us.
Wow!
And but this was the moment when the architecture was on this turning point, when the brave and smart people in the jury said, okay, this world cannot expand and forever. We have to do something for small communities, but we were not aware of it at that moment, because we were doing it just because we had to do it. It was our budget, it was our work. But then you get the idea, what the Water Cube is going to be after the Olympics.
Wembley, especially.
They are very expensive, hollow spectacle buildings. And these are the buildings which are influencing the society, small scale people, everyday lives.
Yes, which goes back to our first topic of relationship.
The explanation of the jury was the small hall in Bale do much better in community of 1,000 than the Wembley in the 7 million of London, because you know we have a national game in Wembley. Nobody is playing on Wembley. So that was the explanation why they gave us award, plus sustainability and local knowledge and everything with the stone and everything else.
So this is somehow, the same moment when you have this collapse, 2008, the economy is collapsing. There is not going to be, everybody's scared what's coming next, and this jury very bravely decides to give award to us.
Yeah,
it's also for us, you know, it also gives you pride and joy, but also opens the door to another job. They call us from Toronto, Canada. Would you like to do hockey arena inside Toronto? And hockey for the Canadian is like Pope for Vatican, you know. It's the
football, basketball for us, you know.
But for Canadian is like a Vatican. It's religion. So every Canadian doesn't have teeth and plays
every
hockey.
Small village has a hockey arena.
So they are converting the waterfront in Toronto, and
still.
Yes, but it's a huge shift from industrial harbor into living port, and they are inviting
one office
from Toronto. Yes, invites us to go to Toronto and submit the.
Because our references in a sports hall, Bale, Zamet, Split, they ask us to participate in this invited presentation, like they call it request for questioning or request for. Letter actually with the explanation with the references, and we were selected and did for 2 years, I think, project. It was later it was a little bit cancelled. We always hope that it will come back,
They selected a mayor which was completely against any public work, and they cancelled the sport hall.
After 2 years.
But I'm telling you, it's also your reference because of Bale and because of sport hall in Split,
Public,
and because of this Zamet Center.
Yeah.
Because of all these buildings, you get invited to Toronto to do in the center of Toronto on the waterfront their hockey arena, their national sport.
Mm-hmm. And we learned from them, from that office, to learn about the North, let's call it American, the culture and pragmatism and so on. So that was one of great experiences for us to develop, even in the office organization, even and everything, of course, detailing and everything else. The next one I would say was hotels. Coming to hotels, our first hotel executed on the project was Lone, and Maestra, great company, which actually gave us a chance to do that. We imagined this hotel with the things that you said, with the thoughts of legacy of late modernism on the Adriatic coast of these hotels, and integration of one project all the let's call it Bauhaus or whatever if you want a method about on one project to kind of invite all the creative engineers, designers, product designers in one place. So the Lone was imagined as a design hotels. We tried to convince client, and we did to go into this design hotels brand. And actually, we did a project which was completely, immersed into the environment first. Then, of course, technology and whatever the hotel needs. But all designs, which hotel is the base of every hotel is a room. We had the collaboration with actually our contemporaries, like the architects from the 50s and 60s did with their contemporaries. Let's Magash, Professor Magash, and whoever did with the local and famous local artists, designers, and so on. So we invited our contemporaries from the artist and design scenes, like Newman, like Ivana Frank, Silvija Vojčić, Igle, and so on, Bruketa Žinić, and that was something which was experienced for us in that level. That was another level, really important, because this hotel is 240 room hotels. For us was a huge thing to do, and that actually hotel led to everything else. And Marko definitely will expand. That hotel with all this commercial success it's important for the client and everything, but design part. But that's because of that hotel and the project we were invited in China to do
in Switzerland.
First in Switzerland, first in Switzerland to do the project together with Miley Petter in one of the top location in Switzerland, and we did together with them the project. We were involved in this interior part of the joint project of the hotel in Switzerland, and then after that in China they wanted to repeat the Lone in China, and we did that and executed. So everything led one to another. The experience of the collaboration of Lone, then the great knowledge that we gain into the Switzerland in every aspect of design and organization. Then China, which was expanding in that way. That was 2000, I forgot.
We started 14, I think, and finished in 2018.
So those were the golden years in China.
China, yes, because
they were development.
Yeah,
I was in 2017, 18 there doing practice.
So those line of things was the same like as Marko explained. Bridge came to something else, then the hotel came to another hotel, and so on. And that was our international experience, which was actually, of course, when to bring back the knowledge and everything and put it also into the knowledge of the office and to expand it. After that came the other projects which were also important in a hotel typology, like Hotel Park, and then of course on the last 5-6 years Rimac technologies.
But just let me remind also, doing the project in Switzerland, there was a Russian client buying a project in Dubrovnik, and then we were invited on a competition in Dubrovnik together with Zaha Hadid, Norman Foster, Legoretta, then Richard Meyer. So you had a really heavyweight architects competing on a very steep site.
We have to present the project. It was not, not just submitting the projects. And we were also finalists with Foster and Zaha.
We went in the second round, Foster, Zaha and us, and we won in the second round.
That was the second time that we won. There is a third.
But there's also this project again was not built. It's a sad story of architecture, like project in Toronto, like project in Zurich. These projects were not built, but as you said, you learn.
Yeah, learn something else,
knowledge,
builds connections, knowledge, systems,
yes. Yes, and also, for example, from the Switzerland, we had a huge respect to their organization. Like the people in Switzerland are not living all in Zurich like we do. We and our engineers all live in Zagreb, and we don't commute. Yeah. They live all around Switzerland, and they come to meeting at 11:35 directly to the office, because the train station from the office is 5 minutes walking. So the whole Switzerland is networked with the trains, and you can really have the meeting agenda written 1 week before, when the structural engineer is coming at 12:35.
And the meeting will last 5 minutes or 7 minutes, explanation, then the other thing. And it was, we said, it's impossible for us.
For us.
Perfect.
Every time, all these meetings, and then this is something we learned from Switzerland, this project management organization and these things. And
punctuality.
Yes, punctuality. And this was what was built into our software Volume, which we started to develop somewhere in 2016. We started to develop Volume. It was all our
digital platform.
Yes, bits and pieces were spread on different platforms. Grand Park Hotel was the last one, which was built using Google Drive, but it was not sustainable. We shared all the plans on a drive.
We did it in BIM, in ArchiCad, but
the sharing,
of
construction
course,
process.
the other files that are coming in and out.
We were thinking if we want to build the perfect buildings, we somehow need to have the digital platform, because data was completely lost, and there was so many miscommunications. We have to assemble it on one place. And Olja, who was working at our office at that time, she created a submission to European funds, and we got the funding, and we kick off the company. We had a separate now entity, Volume, which helps the architects, clients, construction companies to digitally exchange all the data.
And integration.
Integration. It has a meeting minutes, which we learn in Switzerland. It has a task management, which we learn in Switzerland. It has a plan sharing, which was definitely needed.
All drawings.
Everything besides the BIM is now on this platform, and suddenly you become much more effective. The construction companies do not ask so many questions, because everything is visible there, and all the submissions are digital, which led us to the moment that the first, during the construction of of China Hotel, we were invited to do for Croatian Infobip company competition for their new headquarters in Zagreb. And we said we cannot submit because we don't have enough time. We are in the opening of hotel in China, but when we finish, can you extend the deadline for us for 20 days? They said no. So we had only 10 days, and as you said earlier, we said we are not going to submit any rendering.
Just idea.
Just hand sketches and mood boards. And I said, okay, that's fine. And we submitted just the sketches and mood boards, and we won.
Okay, you
and
did
after
it.
that
Actually,
we realized
we did it.
But only because you were
execute-
limited. Not
Not because we were limited in time.
Something like
you
in
couldn't
bridge.
do, but if
Bridge
you had
was
5
also-
more days, you would do at least 100.
Yeah, 20.
at least. Yeah.
And then the funny thing is how this process from the hand sketch to actual building was done, that you have the same
Clear idea,
sketch,
yeah.
same sketch inherited in a hand sketch. It's now built in a very fast pace during the Corona, when you were not able to go to construction site, using the BIM volume and our persuasion how something that was initiated as idea, it's transferred into actual building, helping all
For the first company in the region, who is, how do you call it?
unicorn.
Unicorn, $1 billion
Evaluation.
worth company, which is in your computer and everything else. So
What they do
that's
is
great,
basically
I mean,
they do all these messages between banks, and Uber is going through them. So this building constructed invited us to another competition, which was another unicorn in Zagreb, Mate Rimac, who developed the first electrical hypercar. He had a vision to build a factory, but not the money, just a vision. So invited competition, again, Norman Foster, big Italian and German companies which had the
experience
with the car manufacturing and factories, and us who had zero knowledge.
And in finals, we also won. Foster was the other one. Again,
but we had a huge will to learn what is important for the industry, what is important for his company, and how this company is growing and what will remain on the site. And this also led us to finally construct this huge factory, more than 80,000 square meters below one roof. Huge complexity. Now inside you have robots manufacturing batteries for German premium brands, high volume manufacturing, then small volume manufacturing of Bugatti and Rimac parts, all within one roof, with all these sprinklers, fire regulations, air circulation. So huge complexity within one roof.
And what I think is kind of a thread that connects this story is that throughout all of these projects, from the bridge, throughout the sports hall and hotels and to Rimac, your attention to the context and to the fine detail is always visible in some elements. For example, I had the opportunity and luck with my former office from Croatia to visit your hotel park in Rovinj, and there is, if anyone is in Rovinj, I encourage them to visit the hotel. That's the ball, the banquet room. There is a 15 or 16 meter window with it's a glass wall, 15 meter long, with no mullions, nothing, and it frames the most beautiful picturesque image of Rovinj. And you have that also in the last project you did, the factory, where there is a castle nearby, and you, with the whole envelope and the way you put the whole industrial object in one form or one object, you manage to somehow respond to the context and not to destroy this place, and make it adapt and make it contextual and adapt in the environment.
We have 2 more glass like this.
You have 2 more glass.
3.
Yeah, but that's the bridge, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. In 2 houses, one is Preradovićeva street in Zagreb, one in Rovinj, and the last one month ago in the Hotel Argentina, new addition to the Hotel Argentina. Also,
for me, that's the bridge, right? It's a small bridge inside that hotel, like that knowledge that was transferred.
So it's the whole concept of the hotels is to put the rooms on the best place. The banquet hall is always the worst. Deserves the worst place in the hotel. It's always in the basement or in oriented towards the back, and the hotels in Croatia have a life in the summer months which is oriented towards the sea, But then there's this long, boring season, rainy season in November, January, February, where the hotels still want to operate, but have no reason to be open. And we were thinking, what is important in Rovinj? It's definitely this peninsula and this church tower. And to celebrate this,
an idea, actually.
Yes, idea of this stepped hotel. I can speak about stepped hotel, but let's get back to this glass.
Focus,
Let's make a celebration of this image, like a postcard, and it's so surreal when you get there. It looks like a poster on the wall. You cannot believe it's real glass because you never saw glass so big.
You try to find where is the millions.
But did you transfer it from a boat from other countries?
No. It came by a special truck,
and the crane.
Crane lifted it, and we designed special moving sliding, small like a train, which brings it to the site, to the final position. But it was one call to German factory, ask them what is the maximum size you can produce, and they say 15 meters by 3.6. So
this was immediately this in Apple.
This was
very down.
Put in the plans, and then the whole hotel is oriented toward perpendicular to the sea. Just this.
It's tilted towards the peninsula of Rovinj, just like this.
And now this hotel has a huge winter
programs.
Guest, for example, all the car new placements are placed in these hotels. Everything happens in this ballroom because this surprise when you lift up the curtain and you get this postcard is unimaginable.
Yeah, that's also what we learn. When you get a good idea, transfer it to the client, they agree. Then we said, let's focus to the 5 or 6 or whatever points which are important for the hotel, for the Paddy project. That was also one of our main work of operation of the idea. So after this great idea, or whatever idea, focus on the most important thing for this hotel. This is most important. One is a stepped hotel on the beautiful hill overlooking, like we call it, tribune to the sea, because it is. The other one is the green. Everything should be Mediterranean garden, and of course the view, and of course interior like it is. And in every of this idea, when you said for the client, this huge glass is important, and we wanted you to spend the amount of money for that because of this idea. Probably we always do that because the other things was done perfectly, in every way. But this idea was emphasized with this glass, and maybe it was time parallel with Apple. That's why we saw. This is a SEDAC company which is huge, with these big glasses. But then we repeat it. We repeated a few more times because it was important.
It was working, yeah. So I would like to ask you one more question for this segment of projects. And we mentioned before this, and I think in this last segment when talking about the relationship of hotel and that glass wall with the city. And we talk about the sustainability and the urban scale and relationship of architecture towards the city. So you had an opportunity many times, like you said, to develop large-scale projects, master plans, and in those types of projects that have many stakeholders, let's say, many influences, power dynamics going on, and we as architects obviously have, like you said at the beginning, sort of a responsibility towards the community, towards the city. So I'm very interested. Where are the negotiables and non-negotiables in your architectural practice? When certain ideas get challenged, like you said, okay, we have some crazy idea, we want to do this particularly because it has meaning, it has purpose, it has a certain it's connecting the building to its context. Is that the point where you said this is quote unquote non-negotiable for us, or is it something else? What do you focus on when communicating with other stakeholders?
But it's really broad range of stakeholders that we experience. Sometimes it's a public entity, sometimes it's a private client for himself, or sometimes it might be a representation of a bank or investment corporation. So these are completely different ways how to negotiate. But in any project, for us, it's crucial that the buildings fits in our portfolio, meaning our portfolio, meaning that we can stand beside this building in 10 days, 10 years or 100 years. So we will always believe in initial concept, and that we are improving the public space, that we are improving the quality for people in, and that we have empathy for the users or observers. And these are things that we really believe in, and no matter what scale and location of the projects, we always try to do the same.
Does it happen often that sometimes you have to say we back out? We back off of this project and we don't want to do this?
Rarely. When we start the project, never.
Never.
Because we have really good relation to our clients. We are not egomaniacs type of architects, but we think we can, if the idea is healthy and if it's good for the project, any smart and wise client, which we luckily had, will follow it and develop it.
Because we try to make this idea their ideas, but with kind of explaining and sometimes teach them why is this important for the environment, for the city, for them. But of course, if they have a program of, I don't know, whatever square meters or whatever. So I mean, we did few times, we did the less square meters to improve the projects. And we did it, you know, because clients said, yeah, you're right. I will gain with the projects a lot of experience, a lot of things, and you know, different things. But for us, this architecture and urban planning and design, it's a one piece which we talk to them. But maybe also, you mentioned also this relation to the city. That's why our projects are all different. That's something which we don't have a style. We don't have a, you know, solution. We are white or blue or whatever. We relate to the city, to the context, to the client, to the program, and make our idea, I mean theirs, in a way, but with you know, respect to everything what we mentioned.
What I think is maybe this process, democratic process inside Real HD, where you have to explain everything. You don't just make decision and say, oh, it's my decision, I believe in it. You have to explain it to your partners, to your students, to your project leaders, to everybody. So this process of internal negotiation brings you to the moment that you can easily explain to the client, because everything has to be logical.
Yeah, there is no formal aspect of that on the beginning. You know, that's when you said design. We said project. You know, in the word of the project, it's something which is developing. If we know on the beginning how the project will look on the end, there is no design, then there is no project in a way. So that's something which we inherited from the past, but definitely we develop it during this 30 years.
Okay. Now I think of the etymology of the word. When we're comparing, you say design or project. In Serbo-Croatian, we have projekt and projektiranje, like project and projecting. It would be the literal
projecting of the idea and vision.
Yeah, we don't use the word design as much in our language. Yeah, that's really interesting. But speaking of that, do you think that, and maybe this is a way to conclude this very interesting conversation. I wish we could go more, but the camera will run out. But stay with us more. We're going to have a walkthrough through the office in the last part of this show. So has the meaning of architecture shifted? When you look back to those 30 years, has the meaning of architecture in general shifted from day one you started? You said for yourself it didn't change quite as much, but I want to maybe expand that question to to the global scene right now. How do you see what's the next frontier of architecture, and has the meaning of architecture shifted radically in the last 30 years?
I somehow believe that we have, especially in Europe, where we have declining population, that we have more already built than we need. So the question is, what is the quality of the build material that we have? For example, earthquake in Zagreb show us that we are very fragile. So we were thinking that the buildings are everlasting. It's not true. You saw the buildings, even if they don't collapse, can kill. For example, the chimneys were falling all around the Zagreb. And we have to take care about what we have, but also all the new constructions has to be consolidated in a matter that we need to rethink the urban design and rethink the materials we build the buildings and rethink the way how we commute. When we started the practice, Zagreb was still, I think the number of people living in Zagreb was almost the same, but the Zagreb was much denser city. In the last 30 years, we are living here. I'm living in Zagreb. The Zagreb converted from European, Middle European central city into some American city, the sprawl, because there was not enough initiative of cities and master planning to reuse empty industrial areas and just let the people for themselves to decide where they're going to live. And this is completely unsustainable in Zagreb, and I'm thinking about other cities. I'm not well aware of all other cities in surrounding, but I see in West Europe a lot of in the last 20 years, a lot of industrial sites in the center of the cities were reused in a mixed use and beautiful, and we witnessed them in Vienna, in Zurich, in Oslo, in London, wherever, you name it. But you see here, there is a lack of initiative to develop these areas, and the people are more and more dependent on the cars. And we don't produce the cars, only hypercars, and we don't produce the gasoline. So it's completely stupid to develop city in this narrative of sprawl cities, long communication, spending each day 1 hour in the car-dependent societies instead of having walkable communities, which we had just 30 years ago. This building was a cinema. The cinemas went to the outskirts, and this building was empty for 20 years because the cinemas moved to shopping malls. And this is not European way of living. European way of living was that you have the grocery store, school, everything, ambulance.
Density produce quality.
Yes.
And we shifted into completely wrong direction.
Yeah, and we wanted with this project, which we'll show a little bit later, to show actually is it possible. So one level is reuse on the urban level, the other on the building level, reusing of the buildings. And we have already built, like Kenneth Frampton said, almost 80% of what will ever be built, whatever is built in 2050. We should actually not build at all, kind of, because we have a lot of things which is already done. So yeah, I would say now ecology is going to shift the values that we were raised on, because we were raised on concrete, beams, cantilevers, whatever. And now we have to rethink these qualities from modernism, fast building, into something that is sustainable and long living. Because we demolished so many hotels from the 60s and 70s, not because we wanted, but because they didn't have any possibility to develop, to live. Because to live in, yeah.
Because if the reinforced concrete doesn't have reinforcement, it's not a building anymore. It's just a dead monument. And this is something that we as generation have to really think about and to shift really the values that we inherited from our teachers because then the shift was not on sustainability and ecology, but more on a fast and cheap building. So the people moving from the villages to the cities can adapt and to have life quality, a lot of daylight, healthy atmosphere. But now we have to care about the other things. How to build sustainable, walkable cities without need for how to spend less energy. And this is complete paradigm shift from what we were raised on.
Yeah, and Buckminster Fuller said the famous question, the technology is answer, but what is the question? That is that, because we absolutely employ the newest possible technologies, but this is just a tool to help us to be better, to build better, to build more sustainable. Like, the word is maybe a little bit now overused, I would say. But as Marko said, we actually do it from the beginning. We need we build the concrete, or not concrete, but a good project with the good materials which will sustain a time. And that's the most sustainable thing which you can do.
If you look the islands in Croatia, or Dubrovnik as a city, it's hundreds of years inhabited, and this is the most sustainable.
Solidly built.
So solidly built that you don't need to recycle or demolish it every year. So this is the way how to proceed and to make the high quality neighborhoods and condition for life.
You reminded me of one quote of our famous professor and great urban planner, urbanist. He was in our Serbo-Croatian series, Borislav Stojko, and he wrote once, he's writing a lot, but he wrote in one sentence everything that we kind of discussed here, and he said, "The city is the greatest temptation of architecture." And I'm always trying to, ask myself this question that we're always, what is the question? And it's always shifting, but it's also kind of universal throughout every age, because the technology changes our way of life, and then that changes cities, but we still as architects continue to ask ourselves, what is a city today? And I think we need to ask ourselves that question every time, and maybe the answer is not as the same as 30 years ago when you started, but maybe the question is. Okay, thanks everyone for following, and now please continue with us to Urania, to work. To walk and to work also. Thanks for following, and please check out our links below. Marko was talking about volume. He was talking about your last project for the factory. Please remind me. Rimac factory, yes. So if you want to hear more about volume and about Rimac's project and how it helps them, how volume helps them improve the quality of their work and their work processes, and if you want to learn more about what we also learned in the Budapest conference, you have the link down below, and you also have the Patreon links to support our channel. It helps us develop the channel, it helps us develop the content, and some of the things we're going to talk about in the later part will be in that Patreon page. That's the way to give you back, to give back the community for all the support you're giving us. Thanks a lot, and we'll continue doing this series in the next couple of months. This is a new project for us, as we mentioned in the beginning. So your subscription, your support, and comments mean a lot to us. So stay tuned, and we'll definitely continue doing this series, hopefully in the next year.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Marko, Saša. Okay, let's go now.